meaning, God is so amazing, you guys. I'm just sitting here getting constant revelation, and it's making me smile as I'm actually trying to deliver the message. But I'll go over some of the things that are being downloaded in my spirit. It's just the name is so beautiful, right? So, hi, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Could you guys, when you join, please like or send a heart or whatever it is. I don't know much about going live right now. I'm learning, but if you do, it will allow others to see that this is going on, and others will join and they will receive these amazing messages that the Lord has given to me by my experience. All things work together for the good of those who love Christ, to he who is called according to his purpose. And I have found so much more purpose in my experiences, whether negative or whatever it is, and I really would like to share it with the world. I really would like to share it to those who it can really edify, uplift, and encourage through their life and their circumstances. When you're here, you're able to open your eyes, you guys. There's a purpose there. Even if that purpose is seeing the brighter side of things that you've experienced yourself, so that you can grow, so that you can be stronger on your workplace. It can be that simple. So that you can be the person that somebody needs to greet or be greeted by you in the workplace. Your purpose may be the person who has the eyes to see something that you can deliver a resource in a better way that someone else couldn't do in life, which has a greater purpose beyond that, right? Or behind that, right? I'll dig deeper into that another day. But Sophia, this beautiful, amazing name that the Lord just is amazing, right? So Sophia. So the meaning behind Sophia, which is wisdom in Greek, is divine insight, moral discernment, and spiritual understanding, often personalized as a divine being. You guys, I Googled that, but so I want to give credit where it's due. So it is often personified as a divine being, right? It actually is, you guys. Wisdom is given to us in the natural in the form of like the ability to use your brain, kind of like a common sense thing, right? Some people will say that it's sometimes an intellect in the natural, right? Hi, Latrice. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Hello. I am talking about wisdom right now and how my experiences has helped me to not only just grow in wisdom, but developed in areas that, unfortunately, I had to walk through mistakes that I made in ignoring wisdom deliberately in order to come to grips and insight, revelation behind it. However, I've grown a lot, and there are so many different components that the Lord has allowed me to receive from those experiences, and I'm using it to liberate others throughout their life in order that they can grow. So I just explained wisdom in Hebrew, which is chakman. In wisdom in Greek, which is a word called Sophia. Every time I say the name, I love the name now. Like, it's become a little name that I'm like, wait a minute, you know? So anyway, Sophia. So Sophia is divine insight, moral discernment, and spiritual understanding, often personalized as divine being, which is wisdom. Then wisdom in Hebrew is having moral discernment, shrewdness, understanding, and the ability to make right choices. Okay. But it's like it correlates as well with following God's plan, though. We can't leave that part out, right? Okay, so now let me get to the juice and the fruit and the beans and all the good, amazing things that come from this experience that I'm about to share, right? Okay. So, you guys, I just want to tell you guys a story. If you guys can really like this for me, this is really going to be amazing. It's really going to go somewhere. The Lord gave me, this is really going to grow into something amazing, right? So I really would like you guys to kind of like share. I'm going to go live more often about these experiences and that which the Lord has given me through my crazy experiences, right? That I brought upon myself in life. It's okay. But you guys, if you can share this for me, or like it, heart it. Send me some hearts, you guys. Send me some hearts if you can, because then people will see that I'm live. Obviously, I don't have really many followers because I'm new to TikTok. Actually, I've gotten on here a few times in the past, but I'm actually like a new person because I'm using it now. I'm using the platform more often, and I'm learning. So I'm sure that followers will grow because this is a much needed thing for people of all ages. I'd like to say that I have a lot of experience with like the youth, children, and with young adults. But surprisingly, I have a lot of experience with adults even older than myself. And the Lord, although I'm really passionate about the youth, the children. Um, I love kids. I had 2 child care facilities, well, in-home child care businesses in the past, and I just loved on those babies. And some of them were my nighttime babies, so I was with them. I put them to bed, I woke them up, and I dressed them and fed them lunch and dinner. So those nighttime babies, I took care of them like they were like mine. So I really, really love kids. I love the daytime babies as well, but it's like having babies with you all the time like that and putting them to bed, dressing them and praying with them and certain things like that. It's just, I don't know, it's just like it's kind of deeper than just a job, if that makes sense. So back to hey, hi, thanks for joining. So back to my testimony. This one, because I have many of them, as I explained, but this one right here has to do with how I once deliberately ignored wisdom in the form of a person. Because remember, you guys, wisdom is a being, right? It's a spirit from the Lord. The Lord gives us a spirit of wisdom, but then we also have it in the form of intellect. Like I mentioned, it's like a common sense kind of thing that you grow in. Some people are just born with a special level of wisdom. It's like a gift, but then others receive it by experiences, right? They grow in it by experiences. I like to say that I'm actually, one of my gifts that the Lord gave me is faith. I have an extreme measure of faith that the Lord just instilled into me. So that is like my personal gift that the Lord has, spiritual gift that the Lord has really, really given me. Like, obviously, I've grown in the ability to have insight that some people don't have in the Lord, but I really, really have a really strong gift of faith because it's not easy to go just jump out to do certain things that the Lord has asked you to do, to make changes, transition, and open businesses or whatever it is that the Lord has given you, to create groups and to be an influence. All that stuff really takes a great level of faith, and I just thank God that that's the gift He gave me, because some of the things that I've had to do, I don't know if I would be able to do it without that gift of faith, that backing faith that He's instilled in me since birth. Hi, A with the rose. Hi, thanks for joining. Again, can you guys click like so that people can see, so that people can jump on, so they can get these amazing, beautiful nuggets, right? So one of the things that I experienced, right, guys. So I have children, right? And I took about 7 years of my life, right, to really, really, really gain like extreme closeness with the Lord in terms of relationship. Like presence, relationship. And I was really, really intentional about my everyday life and my time, and how I did it so that I can incorporate certain things I needed that could produce that relationship, well, grow it and produce what I needed from the relationship in the presence of God. Hi, is it Pricey? I don't want to mention my name. A beautiful name though. The way it's spelled. And hi, Evalor Studio and Addie. Hi, Addie. Hello. Thanks for joining. You guys press share or like or whatever it is so that people can get notified and so that people can know that I'm live, or not necessarily be notified so that it can go up so that people can see it so that they can chime in. So anyway, I was saying that wisdom, which is the topic today, and my experiences and how I've grown from it. I was just sharing how one of my most recent experiences, you guys, oh my goodness. So I took about 7 years to really, really grow in terms of relationship with God, right? In the presence of God. And I would read. I learned more about the Word of God for sure. I read. I learned how to slow down in life, right? Because I was like always on the go. I was a single mom, so I was kind of really, really busy a lot. I just kind of like, I was just kind of go, 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 And I actually had 2 different types of businesses, but I had 3 total. I had 2 daycare locations. One which I closed a lot sooner than the first location because I ended up transitioning. But and I also had a salon, right? And I went into the salon later than my childcare businesses, but I ended up closing all 3 because because I took this time with the Lord, I started to gain direction and insight of what I should do in life, if that makes sense. And one of them was to relocate, right? So anyway, when I relocated, I took a lot of time being like taught how to be patient. I gained so much patience, right? I grew so much patience. I grew the ability to like just not have to do something all the time, right? I gained the ability to think things out a little more before I just kind of am inspired by this idea or that idea or what the world is doing. Or there's so many businesses sometimes that are highlighted in society that sometimes we jump in it because we're inspired by what other people are doing and what's popular or what's growing right now or what's the thing. And so during that time, the Lord settled me down enough through prayer and just seeking in Him, in consecration. Let me write that down so I can remind you guys of consecration. And we're going to look that up so that you guys can understand what consecration is and why it is really important. Because that is something essential to what we're talking about today when it's at a certain point. So consecration. So I consecrated myself in God, spending time with Him, reading the Word, praying, learning to meditate, learning to worship. Because worship is actually not just words that you speak when you put your hands up to a song or listening to your favorite song and just kind of being inspired to say, oh, or cry or whatever it may be. Now, there's nothing wrong if emotions are released when you cry during worship. There's nothing wrong with it. It could be a very good thing as long as it's produced by, let it out if you need, is the point. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're worshiping. It's good though to enjoy inspiring spiritual music. It's a good thing to be inspired to be in the presence. Why wouldn't it be essential to spend time listening to inspiring, encouraging music, whether spiritual, worship, gospel, Christian, holy music, whatever it may be? Of course, that is something that can be extremely essential to you. However, you can do all of that and still not have tapped into any worship, if that makes sense. That's just like a form of worship. It's kind of like it's kind of like an enjoyable way to show appreciation for in the moment for even the music. Some of it is just appreciation for the song, but some of it is genuinely the appreciation in the moment that you grasp or were inspired from the song to genuinely appreciate God as well. But even in that case, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're clearly worshiping. I've learned through that process of sitting still and gaining presence in God, inspired by the key components, well, all those components that I just mentioned to you, throughout those 7 years. Um, all those things, I it pushed me to gain the understanding of true worship, right? And so I started to worship and gain the quiet time in God and actually seek Him, hear His voice, and just love on Him, right? And allow the Lord to love on me, right? So I was in that time, I was, I felt convicted to not have, to not involve myself in any sexual things whatsoever, right? I'm not going to say abstain from sex because that's obviously one of them. But I mean, I'm talking no sexual. Hi guys, thanks for joining in. Tavriana, I don't want to mess your name up. Omo, I'm sorry, I don't want to. But thanks so much for joining, and thanks to Sweet from Teeny. Hi, thanks for joining in. So I stayed away from any physical sexual things. I mean, no toys, no sexual anything at all, right? Now, during that time, I was able to gain different levels of revelation in reference to that as well. I'm not going to go too in depth on that because that's for another video, another testimony, another message, another day. But I will say that in that, I was able to, wisdom was able to guide me and protect me from becoming too prideful, because I was starting to think that I was starting to magnify and glorify the fact that I was abstaining or that I was so pure or anything like that. But wisdom came in, thank God, by reading the Word of God and kind of assisted me in being sure that I don't allow that to become somewhat of an idol, if that makes sense, right? So I stopped, and I began to understand that if it weren't for the Lord's guidance, for His wisdom and His grace, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. So it's like filthy rags. But it still was important enough for Him to give me those instructions in order for me to get to where He wanted to take me in growth, right? Hi, Vez. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Hi, Shemaya. Hi. So, or is it Shemia? I think it's Shemia. It looks like it's spelled Shemia. But I just thanks for the coin. Thank you. So anyway, so I abstained and I grew closeness. I received so much revelation, you guys. Oh my gosh, I have so many testimonies that I can't wait to go into in reference to that in that season. So I can't wait to share it. But I received that revelation through wisdom, right? And remember, wisdom is a protection. And the protection of God allowed me to say, wait, slow down. Remember that this here is not a glorification that you should be taking upon yourself. This is something that I'm giving you as a protection in life to keep you from falling into certain traps and certain holes and certain things that you're going to be facing that I may see that you don't yet, right? And sometimes we think in our minds that, okay, yeah, this in this season, I hear, but we're not allowing wisdom to continue. After we receive one part, we get excited about that next move. And then before you know it, we've taken on the rest of the story ourselves and made it to be what we want it to be, right? So in my case, I grew and I received so much, and I found myself in a position, right? I was blessed. Thank you so much, KK. I was blessed, right? To about 7 years, so many years into my walk, right? I was blessed to meet a family. And the family was such a blessing to me, right? Um, and so in that time, I was still abstaining. You know, I hadn't done, like I said, um, I hadn't used like any form of, I hadn't used like any form of any sexual type of experience or anything. I hadn't brought upon myself. I was abstaining from any type of pleasure of any sort, right? Or activity. And so I knew that that was a safety for until whenever the Lord, preferably, obviously, marriage, right? Obviously. But until the Lord walked me through and gave me direction and put me in a place to where I could be found by a husband, or he knew when it would be available. He knew when I would get to a point where I was ready to be a wife, right? So, long story short, I had gone sometime. I've seen such a change in my life. I was able to unclog a lot of the stuff that I ended up taking on in my mental health over the years, which none of it was crazy anyway. It was just more so things that when you involve yourself with other people and you sexually um, allow yourself to connect with that person or just people in general, what happens is you put yourself into a place where your mind can be clouded by so many things. It doesn't always have to be completely demonic or anything like that, but you will allow yourself to kind of take on things that sometimes has nothing to do with where you should be going in that season, just based on the fact that now you've involved yourself emotionally. You obviously, hopefully, if if being involved with someone sexual happens, hopefully it's not done in without being connected to that person in such a level that you would physically be connected, like in other aspects of life, you know, in terms of spending time and knowing that person and being involved with that person. Hopefully that's something that you just naturally do anyway before you would get to that point. But if not, either way, sometimes it requires more time and more from you when that does happen. So for me, I found myself in a place where I had the opportunity to really, really learn from the spiritual, mature people that the Lord placed me under. Hi, Ambi. Hi, Ambi Shay. Thanks for joining. And so I'm gonna get more into detail about that, but so this family was extremely mature, right? Even some of the children was really immature, right? Really mature. But so one of the leaders was really, really, really a blessing, right? And I knew then even, but I allowed myself through that time and that opportunity to really grow, to kind of become distracted, because I got to a point where I was just like, oh, I think I'm ready for a husband, right? Now, I just removed myself from wisdom because the person, let me go back a little. So the leader, I'm saying the leader because this person is so much more than just a person. He's a leader, right? And for, he's a leader. He's just a leader. I see him as a leader. Like, he's just a leader. Like, he leads his children well. He leads his, he's just a leader. Like, you just look to him, right? You just want to learn things from him, right? He's just a leader, right? Overall, right? So anyway, so I had the opportunity to be under this leader for a while. And there were times, it's so funny now, like I look at it and I can laugh because that's the Lord's grace in the healing in all of it that I have, that I can laugh in a grateful way, right? with gratitude. It's not that it's funny and it's not in a derogatory way, but I can laugh at who I was then, if that makes sense. And it's like, Lord, thank you for coming in here and helping me and restoring my ability to receive. And so there were times where I just, I wasn't there, right? I wasn't really ready to receive the constructive grace and criticism and wisdom and knowledge and all these things that this leader carried. Hi, Kayla. That's my daughter. You guys say hi to my Kayla. Hi, KK. Heart like my life. KK. No. So anyway, so I actually, oh gosh. So I always thought really highly, hi daughter, of the messages on the regular basis that I received from this man of God, right? This leader. And the crazy part now, when I look back, when I refer to it as crazy, the crazy part in all of the times that I kind of didn't express my appreciation for the message that he was giving me at hand, or the times that I rejected it, right? Those times, I don't think I rejected it much, but even still, just when you reject little pieces of wisdom, those little pieces are very vital, if that makes sense, right? And so there's a couple times where I just kind of was like, okay, I felt like some of the things that he would say was always of importance, like most of it, all of it. But I think that I really didn't have the maturity yet to speak, right? And so when the Lord gives us covering in the form of a person, it's important to just not share what you think you know, because even if you are understanding, the fact that you're really not there yet, you're not mature enough yet to kind of express what you think you know, it's better to just kind of just listen and receive what they have, because you can accidentally either offend, or you can accidentally, without realizing it, you can speak out of turn in reference to whatever it is that you're being taught or guided in, right, in the moment. So what happened with me is I ended up away from that season, from that covering for a while, because I ended up going out and I got onto a dating app after being told not to do dating apps, right? One of my leaders told me not to do dating apps, you guys. Why did I just reject that wisdom? And I'm not saying dating apps are bad, but in that season for me, my leader and my covering and my Lord knew that for me, that app was not essential to my growth. It was not. And so I took what I was being shown and what I was being taught, and I kind of did my own thing. So I got onto the dating app. So I was doing so well, you guys. I thank God for grace because of where I am. I just know that this is just proof that all things really actually do work together for us when we love Christ and know and assure that we are called according to his purpose. So anyway, back to the point, because I'm taking forever, but I have to be on here anyway for a while. I have to be on here for about a good few hours per day. So I have nothing but time. So I'm sorry, hiccups. But I had a friend, right? I still have my same best friend. She's still really close to me and everything. But at the time, that friend was like one of the few friends that I would like connect with on the daily basis. And I would talk to her, and I'm like, hey, what you doing? She would call me, girl, I'm on this dating app. And I'm like, girl, you better stay away from those apps. Now, this is the wisdom that I had gotten poured into me. And at some point, I'll share with you shortly when that shifted. But anyway, so I would, girl, you better stay away from those apps for now. You know, right now we should be focused. We should continue on what we're supposed to do. Da 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 da. Well, after so many conversations, and after seeing that she was somewhat successful, after seeing that she was somewhat successful a little at the time, she thought at a little inch outside of wisdom would have me think, oh, well, maybe some of them are okay. But the problem is that it's not about whether it's okay or not. At the time, wisdom knew for me. Wisdom knew for me that this is not okay right now. So that was me trying to inch out of what I knew better about, that I had been taught better about, and just kind of have a thought or two. And when you have a little thought, and then you go back to the little thought, then it grows into a bigger thought. And then before you know it, you're feeding that thought, and that thought is growing. And the hello, hi Valentina, hi Mike the dealer. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you so much. So, thank you. I appreciate the likes as well, you guys. This is really important to me. So, and it will be for you if you hang in there. So, when you ignore wisdom an inch, and then a little bit, and then a little more, 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 before you know it, you guys, you have fed the opposite of wisdom, right? What is the opposite of wisdom, you guys? The opposite of wisdom is folly. You guys, it's ignorance. It's deliberate, derogatory behavior or sense. It's lack of sense. It's lack of the ability to apply the key principles that the Lord has given you to keep yourself from falling into strange issues, situations, places, all these things. And before you knew it, I had started to feed that thought of, well, it's okay. Not all dating apps are bad because they're good. Some of them are benefiting. Some people are benefiting. I ignored wisdom's understanding of where I was for me at the time. And I before you knew it, my friend was setting up a dating account for me. Hi, Jaylee. Thanks for joining. Hi, Brenda. Thanks for joining. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for all the likes. Thanks for the shares. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. But really quick, again, before I continue with my story, I'm just going to really quickly go over who I am. I am obviously Juanita, but I am not a preacher. I'm not a minister, you guys. I'm just a person who enjoys reaching people in different occupations and settings of life, who enjoy doing different things, who enjoy doing things outside of ministering and preaching in their everyday lives, just different occupations, and just sharing my stories of how life has taught me to grow and understand that you can take Christ with you in every occupation. Whatever you're doing, take Christ with you, and just giving you guys tools to help liberate, edify, encourage you, and support you in your growth, right? Some people, I don't know what it is with people in this world today who think that you're supposed to go out and be a preacher. Not everybody is called to be a preacher, you guys. Like, some of us are singers, writers, band artists. Some of us are whatever it may be, and you're not always called to become a preacher. So I am purposed and called to stand with you guys and to just walk with you in your everyday lives, and how you can use the tools of God to accomplish whatever you set out to do, whatever it may be, right? Hi, Danielle. Thank you. Okay, so let me get back to what I was talking about. So you guys, like I shared, I covered how I was abstained from any sexual activity of any kind for years at this point. This is a testimony that um, it testifies of how I was in a good place and ignored wisdom and fell out of that place, right? Into an unsafe place. So really quick, 1 second. Oh my gosh. Okay. Alrighty. So, and how it really could have really killed me, you guys. Like, seriously. So it's important to really, really take heed and keep wisdom at the forefront of your entire being, your life, your goals, everything you do, everything. Carry wisdom with you. Gain it. Grow in it. Learn about it. And I went over what wisdom is in Greek. I went over what it is in Hebrew. And I'll eventually go back over it again. But right now I want to finish with go back into my testimony. So anyway, my friend, she was like, yeah, the dating app that I knew better about and I was instructed not to do. She's like, yeah, girl, we're going to set this dating app up today. Now, mind you, she knows my story and she knows I love her. So, she's okay with me sharing this. Hi, Larry Tenner. Hi. Thanks for joining. So so crazy. So I got onto the app, you guys. Oh, see how you feed that little just going opposed to that huge seed of wisdom that the Lord that gave me, that he knew how to protect me from something so huge. And that tool that he gave me it was so huge, but just me having a small thought of opposition to that, it grew huge, my thought, and caused me to get into something. So I took a slight tad little inch and it became a giant, right? So anyway, I got on the app, you guys. I don't know why I thought I was like the smartest spiritual being at the time, because I obviously wasn't. You guys, I got on the app and I met a few people and I thought I was like scanning through it pretty good. I'm like, you move the little thing to the right or the left, swipe if it's the person, whatever. Hi, Lay. Hi. And so I did my little scanning through. And me with my bright tail at the time. So funny. I thought I found a match. Well, okay, at first I did it, right? Wisdom was still trying to direct me. I saw a couple little, I don't know. This guy, he asked me a couple questions, and I was just kind of like, conversing back and forth here and there. And I kind of was like, I don't know. And that little, I don't know, led to me kind of pulling away for a second. But when he reached out, he was kind of persistent. So I thought, again, wisdom spoke to me again. And here I go. And I'm like, well, yeah, I had the thought. But the little but turned into, I guess, well, let me see. He's persistent. Oh, and there I am again, my own thoughts, being intellectual, just completely rejecting the wisdom that the Lord was given to me to defend me, right? Or not to defend me, but to protect me. Hi, Shara. Hi. So before you knew it, we were on the phone, right? And we were like talking every day, having, and he was so charismatic at first. So charismatic, so sweet, so all these things, right? Before you knew it, first red flag. But I had already gone out on a date, And it's so crazy. You guys, wait, let me back up a little bit. I thought to myself, I said, our first conversation, I said, first, I want to make sure that you are not some married strange guy. Not realizing that I'd spent so much time with the Lord over the course of those 7 years that some of which the thoughts that were coming to the forefront was red flagging me. And I was just me ignoring the wisdom too early wasn't allowing me to grow in those tools. That question that I had was actually a tool that the Lord was speaking to me and highlighting in the spirit. And I was kind of like thinking, I kind of just put it out there like a question. And instead of saying, wait, this thought, let me look into this guy. Let me check this out and do a little more background. Does that make sense? Instead, hi fan. Hi. Thanks for joining. Thanks. And so I ended up involved. Guys, I ended up going on a date. Went on a date. Allowed him to take me out on a date. Then went on another date. Hung out. Before I knew it, I was in an entire relationship, right? Now, mind you, one of the key things that the Lord gave me to do that the Lord knew would protect me, right? I started to get bored and tired of that instruction. And it was right the time that I started to really get like kind of tired of okay, let me back up. I didn't get tired of the instruction. Hi Alba. Hi Yanek. The protection that he gave me to focus, the clear components that he gave me to pay attention to in this walk through through this time, I started to want to be married and have a family, which is fine, we should, right? But instead of just living out what he told me to do, because he who finds a wife, they will find you, right? When they should find you doing what you're supposed to do. That's how they find you, right? So I was doing what I was supposed to do, and then ignored just the little bits and bits that led me to making a huge wrong turn, right? And at this time, I'm having flags. Like I said, I asked them, "You're not this married man, are you?" You know, and I'm just kind of like forgetting, like, just because I got distracted and took that turn like that, I had slowly started to not use the key tools that he had given me outside of my own intellect, which was that highlighted question that I thought I just asked just to ask, right? Okay, long story short, let me get to the point. So we started dating, and I asked him, you know, if he had kids. He knew I had kids, and all these things long before this point. And hi Frizzer, hi. And thanks for joining. And so we started to kind of like, it was kind of exciting, right? Because to me, like I said, he was charismatic. He seemed like he was such a good guy. Like, and I'm not saying he's a bad guy now, actually. He's just, you know, whatever. So I was abstaining. Now, I told him what I was doing. Now, you guys, I want to point out really quick. If the Lord gives you clear instructions and you know it's him, whether you understand why shouldn't matter until he gives you the why. Because as long as I know that it's the right thing to do, because he told me to do it, that will preserve me until I am told, when he's ready to release to me, why. Because he's not going to always tell us why. Because in that time frame, there's certain key things put in place through this walk and our growth with him that will help to mature us to a point where we're actually ready to receive the whys behind certain experiences or instruction. So again, I asked him, I said, you know, he told me he didn't have kids, you know, and I just didn't, guys, it's so crazy because I was thinking, of course he doesn't have kids. All this time, someone would be calling, someone would be asking to come and, you know, you would be picking children up, something by now, right? Weeks, months even went by. No kids. So I just believed. And he had this goal to have a wife and have his first child, you know, and I was just like, oh, that's so sweet, you know. In my mind, I'm just like, he's just the sweetest thing, you know. You guys, the tool that the Lord gave me, again, it rose up again in the 7 years, and I didn't use it. I asked about the kids a couple more times because there were little things here and there that would just kind of happen. Like once I discovered I discovered like it's so crazy. I discovered like some children's items here and there, just kind of like, and I'm just thinking he's like, oh, that's my little cousin. But I saw the demeanor kind of change. Oh, you guys, I have to back up. This is so important. This is important thing that I have to mention. Hi, Rose. Hi, Rose Alexi. That's cute. I like that. Hi, thanks for joining. Thanks, Wendy. Thanks for joining. You guys heart for me and share, that way other people can kind of, you know, we can have that like traffic so that people can hear this. It's pretty good. I believe it. It will really, really help. So, hi, Lauren. Hi. So again, I was talking about this is not about a crazy relationship that I got in, you guys. I want to make sure that we understand. This has to do with me ignoring wisdom and having the opportunity to be safe in wisdom's covering and totally going outside of it, right? And so I just want to let me go on with the story. So this is a point that I want to back up into that I completely forgot. You guys, I had a dream. I forgot to mention to you guys that I would have dreams often. Through that 7 years, I had dreams when I was a young girl, you know. But my dreams became more in depth, and I gained more understanding of these dreams throughout this time frame that I really found myself intentionally sat in the presence of God and intentionally prayed and grew. Hi, Miss Millie Madison. Hello. Hi. Thanks so much for joining. I join your lives all the time, so thank you. So, so during this time that I had spent so much time in the presence of God and all these things and abstaining from sex, sexual things altogether, all these things, it gave me the opportunity to substitute all the cloudy things from over the years of distractions to gaining more insight in the Lord, right? And so my dreams, I started to understand them more, and I started to, you know what I mean? But when that little period of time that I went outside of wisdom, and wisdom was covering me from by giving me the instruction, by God giving me the instruction to abstain from any sexual activity, that covering had covered me for a time such as this, that I deliberately went outside of that covering. So here we go. Here's this time. So I had a dream, actually. So we all know that I was hard-headed when he gave me a physical covering, which is that person, the two people, the two guide leaders that I told you about, who have been really giving me really great insight and just guiding me, right? And so that was one form. And then the other form that I mentioned is obviously by spending time with God and gaining his spirit of wisdom and his tool, and then obviously growing in intellectual sense, right? So those three amazing keys and components to being able to walk in wisdom was handed to me. But I went outside of that when I started to date the guy the guy, one of my leaders actually told me not to get on these dating apps and to stay away from it, and to be, to just be patient and to stay in God's covering and things like that. So when I had a dream. I asked him about kids. Remember, he said no, and we had dated for a while, and I seen that there were no kids around, no baby mamas calling or any strange situations. So in my mind, but I had a dream. I had a dream. In that dream, there was a woman. She was standing at a kitchen. She was washing dishes. And she's washing dishes. And in the dream, I was like, I wasn't, in the dream, I was like in front of her. But like, I was like, you can tell like in the kitchen, in the dream, it was almost like an island over the, it's like one part of the, like a, kind of like a bar counter, like a thin bar counter, and where you can stand over the sink on one side, and then the person on the other side is like in the kitchen, if that makes sense. And so she was like, and on the left, on my left, there was like a living room, which would be to her right. And so she would like, she was very calm. She was not rude in the dream, anything. She was just gently washing her dishes and just doing her thing in her kitchen. And then she said to me, yeah, he calls sometimes, and sometimes he comes around, but that's it. And she was speaking in that exact tone, like in that, like, you can tell in the dream she wasn't like rude. You could tell that she had kind of whatever they had dealt with in the past. You can tell she was just kind of like over it, but she wasn't giving off a bad derogative energy toward expressing this, who the guy was that I was dating at the time. Hi, Ivana. Hi. Oh, I think I'm saying your name wrong. Ivana. Love. I love the last name because that's what this is about, love, right? So anyway, so again, I say often, I have to pause and kind of say to you guys that this is not to put the attention on a relationship that I've experienced, but rather put attention on what can happen when you deliberately go outside of wisdom in every form that the Lord has given it to you, right? Okay, so let me get back to the point. So she was washing dishes, and she was so gentle and calm and just kind of telling me, yeah, he comes around here, and he comes around, and he calls sometimes, but that's about it. And I was like, And then it went from that area that I mentioned where the living room was to my left and to her right. That living room in the dream jumped from a living room to a backyard. In this backyard, there he was sitting outside with 3 babies in front of him. Now, I refer to all young kids as babies, teenagers. They're my babies. I just love kids, and I love young adults. I love kids. So for me, I use the term babies, but it's not to be rude, derogatory, or anything like that. That's the best way for me to describe the gentleness in people who are so innocent, if that makes sense. Or not the gentleness, but my heart behind kids and people, innocent people, right? Because they're so young. So anyway, so I seen him. He was outside, and he was sitting like in Indian style, and he had one kid here, one there, one there. And they were all just kind of loving on their father, and he was loving on them. Guys, I woke up. And when I woke up, I knew this man was involved with a woman who knew him very well prior to me. Because I knew in the dream, I knew there was a slight bit of care there, but I knew that he was involved heavily, deeply with a woman, right? Prior to myself. Okay? So I was just like, okay, And I knew also when I seen the kids in the backyard that indicated that this woman that was talking to me in the kitchen, that those were her children, but in that he knew those children extremely well, right? Well, you guys, by now, I'm, we're dating, we're into it really well. We're like building ideas. We're like talking about, we're involved even in business at this point. We're just kind of like, and yeah. So at some point in one of my lives, I will go into more details regarding like some of the experiences that matters, if it's necessary, you guys. I don't ever want to put information out that's not a tool that's going to be used to get you somewhere or to help you to understand something else, right? So I don't really know what that symbol is, okay, you guys? So don't put anything derogatory because I'm going to just look over it, okay? But thanks for all the good gifts and stuff like that, or whatever it may be. So anyway, so so the guy, I told him about the dream, and I said, who are these kids? And he kind of looked at me because by now he knows that I am a godly woman, you know what I mean? But he's kind of like, how'd you know that there's a woman? He's not knowing what in the world is going on here. He's looking at like, did you go through my phone? It's almost like that question in his mind, like, what's going on here? And that expression alone made me know, like, he's aware that I know that there's a person, right? So he ended up telling me, I really I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean? I said, okay, I'm quite sure that there's a woman that you know really well, and she has kids, and you know those children really, really well. Well, he sort of played it like, I don't really know what you're talking about. Like, I don't really know. Like, but what are you talking about? Like, what does she look like? Have you seen a woman in my phone pictures? Have you seen like what? And so I'm like, I never went to your phone. I never went through your phone. I had a dream and I seen the woman, but she knows you really well. So at this point, he's knowing like, wow, the dreams that she's talked about in the past, she really has dreams. Like this is real, you know? So I said, I'm giving you the opportunity to let me know what's going on, you know? So we had actually talked about marriage because in the beginning, we knew we both were looking for marriage, looking to be married, and we weren't dating without the intent to get married. You know what I mean? So we had set up plans about these things, and we said within a year, like if all goes well, we would marry. And so obviously I had grown feelings for this guy, and all these things. But another protection that I ignored, you guys, because I'm gonna touch back onto that point in a second. But another thing that I really ignored was the Lord told me to abstain from any sexual activity, anything, right? Well, this guy, when I told him, well, actually, I'm just, waiting and whatever, me going outside of God and allowing him to tell me, well, there's times we're together, we're, doing all these things. And he's like, well, I can't, like, it's just too hard. It's just, you're so bad. And then before you know it, there we was. I left the covering. At this point, I'm just completely walking away from wisdom, you guys. Like, completely going outside of wisdom. Like, completely ignoring the covering. That may work for someone else, but when the Lord has given you clear instruction for you, which is that inner sound, that inner voice that is for the better, don't go outside of that. You're deliberately walking against what wisdom is telling you. But wisdom was still coming in once again to protect me by giving me the dream. And he said, well, I did have a stepdaughter, and the woman I had a stepdaughter by, she had 2 other kids. You guys, I didn't think this man had any reason to lie, because he came into my life. He's like, he's really, really charismatic. When I say he was such a gentleman, he opened my doors. He did everything. Like, he made sure that I had anything I wanted. He told me, go back to school. Like, you can go back to school. Like, you should stop working so hard. Go back to school or finish school, whatever. I'll pay the bills. So I'm thinking, like, this guy's, he's paying my bills, He's coming in with money, he's helping out, and he's doing these things. Like, what if the Lord didn't actually mean stop? Like, what if he just meant stop for a while until you're mature? Me not knowing that I'm not mature yet, as I thought, mind you. So I'm like completely out of the will of God at this point, because I'm like inching more and more further away, while wisdom is still knocking on my door saying, hey, pay attention. Remember the dream you had? Remember the dream? God knows more than what he's telling you. God knows more than what he's admitting to. The Lord's safety is in what I'm telling you not to do. Stop where you are. Don't. When you physically connect yourself to another person, before you know it, you've built a distraction because now you're focused on that person. And it's okay to physically connect yourself in the right timing with the right person, in under the right circumstances, under all these protections. But when you don't have that first, and the Lord has not brought you to that, what happens is you go further and further and further away from the establishment that the Lord prefers for you. You can't go and look at everybody else's story and how everybody else's is done. Someone else's may work out completely different than you. So before you knew it, I had gotten back into sexual activities, fornication. Let's just say how it is. Then I had got, you guys, we had gotten spiritually, we made a spiritual covenant. We don't even want to talk about the dangers of, you guys, building covenants that you think is so your way and not the God way. So to me, I'm like, well, we are technically married because, you know what I mean? Whatever. Until we, go and walk down the aisle. That's another part I'll touch back on too. Whatever, right? Okay. So let's just say it the way it is. It's fornication. It's fornication, right? So here I am with this guy. I'm thinking like, okay, maybe the Lord just showed up a different way. He wants to bless. Maybe it's not the way that, maybe I was taking it too serious. Guys, don't ever think that the guidance and direction from the Lord is too serious. It is serious. That's exactly what it is. It's serious, right? Even though the Lord's grace is there, but you got to understand some of the dangers of falling into situations that you didn't know were there, or situations that will grow bigger as a result of stepping into smaller things that you just didn't think would. You're not thinking anymore. Once you're distracted, you're not really thinking anymore, because you're not thinking in God's will. You're not thinking by his covering, by his wisdom, by his direction, by his instruction, right? So here we are, fornicating. Fornication is there again. This man, I found out that he had one daughter he claimed he adopted with a woman who has 2 kids, who didn't live there in my state. But the whole time, you guys, this man had 3 kids. So he slightly admitted to something, which is dangerous, because there's that personality starting to unveil. The mask is starting to come off. It's starting to come off. But there I was, so because I had ignored wisdom's protection of abstaining from all the things that he told me, because I stopped it. I cut it off early, which is disobedience. Let's just call it what it is, y'all. We're all up in this room right now. It's pure disobedience. You can't obey and then think, well, because I'm tired of obeying, because I want it to turn out this way or the way that I want it to do. We can't think we're barely disobedient. We're barely disobeying, or that we're disobeying slightly, or that no, it's disobedience. Because something small can knock something completely over that's extremely big. And then it can shatter. And then you have to go back and you have to identify what happened and clean up the glass. And then if you clean up the glass, you might get cut. And then if you get cut, you may just get infected. It goes on and on, right? So here I was with him. I found out that he had 3 kids. And guess what happened when I found out? Found out. Okay, first I want to mention how I found out. I found out in an emergency situation, because he had to go out and pick up a baby from the woman who didn't live in town, who had the other kids. And then that's when he had to open up about what had happened. So by this time we had kind of not just started. By this time we're moved in together, and we're just going to be married anyway, right? It doesn't matter, because we were going to be married anyway, right? Okay. And we were spiritually in a covenant. Guys, don't do things your way. It doesn't work. Don't do things my way. That's what I'm telling myself every day. It does not work. It's not going to turn out the way that it should when you just do things your way. It just doesn't. It's better to take heed to wisdom and in the instruction in every form that it comes that's necessary for you, for your walk. Not Susie's, not Kelly's, not Alicia's, not Brandon's, not Joseph's, not Adam's. Everybody has their own thing that wisdom understands is better for them. Okay, let me get back onto the subject again. So I found out that he had kids, and to make it worse, when I found out about it and when I addressed it with him, in the midst of going to get the baby squared away under this emergency out of the kindness of my heart, the baby had to come actually and live with us at this point, last minute, for a while. And I'm thinking at this point, how do I throw the baby out? I can't just throw the baby away. I can't just throw, I have to make sure that the baby's safe at this point. And mind you, I have my own kids that should be safe too. But in my mind, I'm just thinking, okay, it's something that we can get through. We can work through it because, maybe he just, for some reason, the reason behind it he gave me, I thought, okay, I guess it makes sense because you wanted to protect me from what was going on over there, and that's just something you wanted to protect me from. And in my mind, I just wanted to, even though it was red flagging all day long, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I just want to protect. This is so crazy. In my mind, I'm like, maybe he just wanted to protect me from this. Now, mind you, the wisdom that the Lord gave me behind the dream he gave me, that dream was the protection, not him. You guys, we cannot go outside of the Lord's protection and think we have another protection in another form that has absolutely zero to do, is completely opposed to what he said, right? That's where I was. That's where I was. I went completely outside of the protection that the Lord gave me in his form and the one that he knew was safe for me, necessary to go and make an excuse for someone else's mess that was obviously showing up at my doorstep and had entered, and wisdom was still going out of the way to knock on my door to remind me, daughter, get away. This is not safety. This is not okay. And instead of listening to that, the one who kept me safe for all those years, the one who kept me and my children in such an amazing, peaceful place that I had seen so many results and growth in, that same wisdom was waving at me again. And because I had gone outside of the instruction of God, I had gained feelings and emotions, and that led to excuses for a person that claimed they were protecting me. How is someone's protection outside of God's will greater than and safer than the instruction of God? Talk about delusional. Talk about delusion, y'all. This video is not to knock the person down, my ex down. It is to highlight my own folly, you guys. All of these videos that go around online, all the videos moving around online, putting other people down, talking about the narcissist, trying to bash the narcissist. Listen, I'm here right now, you guys, to take full responsibility for my own folly, my own deliberate decision in a season to do completely the opposite of what the Lord had asked me to do. And so let me get back to the story. So sorry, I'm so sorry. I have the hiccups a little bit. So anyway, so let me get back to the point. So so here I am, and I got this baby. I'm like, okay, well, the baby is here, the one that I didn't know existed. No, wait, I did know that I ignored when the Lord showed me existed. Okay, so he's here. He said it was to protect me that he didn't tell me about this baby. My mind still didn't say, what else is he hiding? And guys, again, it's not about the person. This is about me ignoring wisdom. It's about me ignoring wisdom. It has nothing to do with somebody else's walk and the pace that they're going and learning and growing from whatever it is that they're trying to go through. That's another day, another conversation. If it's necessary, I'll talk about it. But right now, I'm talking about just the pure, deliberate choice to ignore wisdom. So then, and I wasn't even going to share this story because I'm like, all these stories with people going around bashing their exes and stuff like that, I never wanted to be that person, and I still don't want to be that person. So I'm going to be sure that I'm not that person by just staying on the purpose of this at hand. And that purpose is what can happen when you ignore wisdom, right? And this is just me testifying to you guys so you remember. So really quick, because my phone is actually going down in battery, so I'm going to have to do a part 2. So if y'all want to tune in either tonight or tomorrow at some point, I'm going to go back in and we're going to finish off, because my phone is dying. So yeah, so here I am with this baby, and I'm just feeling so bad because I'm like, he's so adorable for one. And my children really loves this baby. And I'm just like, what do I do? He was just so cute, and I'm just like, and before you knew it, I had made an excuse for all his excuses. I had looked over it. And once again, 4th time, I ignored wisdom. I made an excuse. I ignored wisdom, which was disobedience. I then found out that the mother of this woman, because we were going to get married, and I'm like, what is going on? What is up with our wedding date, like, changing? Like, why is it, like, stuff would happen. Like, he would start, I don't want to get off the subject, but he would kind of start extreme, like, fights or, like, arguments, because we've never fought physically, obviously, but we never fought physically. Like, we never had, like, hands on, like, he's never, like, put his hands on me. So the fights I'm referring to is, like, the arguments and, like, the whatever, and then he would, like, use that, he would dart out, and I'm like, eventually, after so long, I was like, something is up with this. Like, I ended up finding out. I did a background check. You guys, background check is not stalking. We have to protect ourselves. We have to protect our kids. I found out this man was married. I found out he was married, right? I'm like, Lord, you are protecting me. Now here's the tears. Here's all these. Lord, you were protecting me, and all these things, and you're crying and you're upset and da da da. I should have listened. The man was married. I do not believe in adultery. I do not believe in dating a person's husband or wife, whatever. I don't believe in that. I'm totally against it. I'm actually supportive of women behind their back if their men try to come and try to present themselves in a way that I'm like, no. I had experience in the past where a person was married and I found out and I was like, no ma'am, no sir. So anyway, yeah, he was married and he's living with me, and here's the kid. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I was just kind of like, so when I presented it all to him, all of which I knew, he got upset with me. He was like, why would I be married? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, is this like, he's like, this is a mistake. I think that this is just because, we were together for so many years. We were together for 15 years. I don't know why that's like showing up like that, but maybe that's why, because she goes by Miss such and such at the time and all these things. And I'm just like, but the Lord showed me. Why didn't I remember, you guys, that the Lord showed me. Listen to what he showed you. Don't go outside of what he's told you already. That's like with our children sometimes. I have kids sometimes, and sometimes I tell them things and they don't believe me, and then when it happens, they're like, but I told you. But I told you, right? So I gave him the opportunity to because he was like, you gotta believe me, you gotta, you have to really, you have to believe me, I wouldn't do that to you, why would I lie about something like that, that's extreme, and and a couple days went by, and it just was so strong on me, like something is just not right with that. I know I read what I read, I know I seen what I seen on that background check, I know this man is like, he's married, he has to be, and so long story short, he would make me cry too about it, because he's like, he started to get mad about it, like, why would you think that, then finally, after traumatizing me and making me feel so terrible about believing he was married, he admit to being married. He finally comes to admit that he's married. And when he did it, he was like, well, it's the divorce, we were trying to do this, and this happened with the courts and all these things, so we're technically not together, and then he got his baby. I said, I want to meet this woman so that she knows, like, what's going on here and where her son is, like, and that, I want to meet this woman. I want to know, talk to her more about what's going on and all these things, and I really want to talk to her. And so we meet, and we talk, and she was just like she was in that dream. She was calm. She talked to me. Everything was just fine, and she told me, yeah, he's actually a good man. I'm in a relationship, and at the time when I met her, she was pregnant with another person's child. So I thought, okay, she's in a well-established new relationship, and she was telling me, well, yeah, that's why we were having trouble with the marriage fees and all these different things that were tied into things, and we were just kind of trying to establish the paternity and these things like that. She was really nice about everything. So in my mind, I thought, okay, well, I guess but I never thought that a lie is a lie. He lied. He made it up. You know what I mean? And so for me, I'm just like overlooking it. I'm more looking into the reasons behind everything. It's not about the reasons, you guys. It's not about the reasons. It's about, how did I end up here anyway in the first place? How did I end up in a situation where I'm outside of the will of God? I'm in a situation, and at the time, I wasn't really set on understanding that all along it was going outside of the wisdom the whole time. It hadn't. Yes, the reasons behind things, sometimes it's necessary to visit the reasons and to talk about the reasons and to gain understanding sometimes, but really overall, there's one purpose behind visiting the whole thing overall, and that is just knowing that I went outside of the will of God. Like, that's it. There's no other, like, all these little small sub reasons and sub excuses and all these things that factor into reasons behind other things that happened. It doesn't matter. There's one sole purpose that's essential to visiting the entire thing overall, and that is, what did you do to end up there? And that was, I went outside of God's will or wisdom. And the crazy thing is, he gave me wisdom, like I mentioned, in three forms. It was his wisdom that he was showing me, he was growing me in. He gave me a safety with the leaders, and he gave me the dreams to remind me of the wisdom that was constantly at my door. It made no sense at all. It made absolutely zero sense, right? And so, how does the person that I mentioned, one of the leaders, what does that person have to do with what I'm talking about? When I found myself falling deeper enough into the holes that I was falling into, I reached out to one of my friends, good leaders, and I asked, what do I do? Because this is it's it's becoming too much for me. I need to get myself out of the situation that I got myself into. He gave me instruction, and he said, like, you guys, how deep do we have to go until it like clicks that, wait a minute, you're completely deliberately undermining wisdom? So he told me, he said, because remember, I had already gotten on the dating app that I should not be on in the first place. Now I'm in a situation with someone I met on the dating app, and then I go to my good friend and leader and ask, so what do I do? Right? What do I do? Now, mind you, I have more than one leader as well. I had a spiritual mentor, and she's like my sister. She's like one of my spiritual she's like, I have one spiritual mother, but she's like one of my spiritual mothers, if that makes sense. Like, I have one spiritual mother who's my direct appointed spiritual mother, and then I have other mothers that, by respect and honor, I look to them as my spiritual mothers as well, and spiritual coverings, and they're women. So my spiritual mother, by the name of Prophetess Ashley, and or spiritual mentor by the name of Prophetess Ashley, personal mentor, and some of my sister leaders in Christ, they were aware as well. And by the time they got around to me, I was trying to dig myself out and take heed to their words as well. But the one leader that spent time, they all spent a lot of time with me actually, but the one leader who, he gave me actual specific instructions as to what to do to get out of the situation, because they all gave me really key essential wisdom to how to navigate some of the inner parts of what I was dealing with, and it all worked. And then so when he gave me the instruction he gave me, he said, do this way to protect you, because it just only makes you can't worry about other people's feelings and well-being when it basically, in so many words, if it's dangerous, if it puts you in dangerous, right? You can't focus so much on another person's safety. And we all know that. That's just in the natural, right? That's not even something that you have to really, really go and say, oh, should I, like, no. That's just the natural ability and intellect behind the choices that you should make. For me, I was just kind of like, even though that was a common sense thing that I should have carried, and the instruction he gave me was so essential and important, I didn't grasp the more in-depth, vital alert behind what he had just said. And I unfortunately, I didn't reject it at all, because I wanted to do exactly what he had said. But in my mind, because I got myself in so much mess in the situation, like at this point when we had jobs, we had a business together, we had so many different connections financially, and so many different things that we had that had come together, that wasn't easy to detach from, that I was just I thought, well, he's not aware of that yet. Here I go again with my wisdom. He's not aware of that part. So yeah, he's right. So I'm going to get around to that, because when I get around to that, in the right time, no, ma'am, right now is the right time. But in my mind, I was like, yeah, exactly. He's right. I'm going to do just that. I'm going to do that. But I'm going to do it. What? Maybe I should do it after I have this part squared away. Yeah, that's it. It's going to work. What he said is going to work as soon as I make sure that this area is taken care of first. Yep, that's it. So, in my mind, again, I had put my insight in front of the wisdom in the form of a person that the Lord gave me here on this earth. You guys, do not waste the wisdom behind the experience that the people has had before you, because actually he's my age, actually, but he's just wise. It's not that he's older by any means. He's just wise because he's handled a lot of his situations a lot better than I have in mind, which gives him the ability to foresee things in a much organized manner than I would, especially when you're under pressure or stress or going through a situation. You got to understand, when the Lord blesses you with people who are sane or just in a place where they can think more responsibly, because it's not that you're irresponsible, it's not that you're dumb or anything. It's just that when you go through experiences that you really didn't intentionally bring yourself to just by negligence, sometimes you can find yourself in a state where you have brain fog as a result. Sometimes you can't really think as clearly as you would if outside of that extreme circumstance, right? And that's where I was. I had gotten myself into a situation where I could make normal day-to-day healthy choices, like obviously caring for my kids as a mom, like feeding, going to work, laundry, duties at home, and I knew how to protect them from anything that could physically hurt them, or you know what I mean, or anything like that. So obviously that was there with me, but when it came to like organizing certain thoughts in reference to how to get myself out of that situation, I sometimes couldn't think clearly, and that's why support and fellow brethren in Christ are there to help us and to keep us and to help us to overcome those things. And that was, again, wisdom thing here. This is something that can help you. This is a tool that I gave you, a person that can help you to climb out of this. He didn't have to physically come to help, but his words was just enough, right? So anyway, so I did that, but I did it so delayed that I found myself digging myself out of even deeper holes than that, because I was thinking, well, since our businesses are still connected, let me just wait. And but before I knew it, I had found myself in a complete mentally abusive situation. I had found myself in debt because this person had gotten things put into my name. I had fallen thousands of dollars behind. And this person made a lot of money on a regular basis, which tells you that what that person was dealing with was extremely dangerous and harmful. Because if this person makes the money that they make on the regular basis, and then they go into your credit to take out loans or whatever it may be in your name, which happened to which is what happened in my case, it's best to just run. It was best for me to just run, just like my friend had instructed me to do. Leave everything the way it is, get a restraining order, run in terms of don't look back, not necessarily get out, run and hide and not establish everything that you need to do for safety. He instructed me to get a restraining order, and I waited around to do that because I was just thinking like, but he doesn't know this part. He doesn't know that part. He's not aware that if I do that, I may not ever get the funds back that he borrowed from me in my name. Maybe he won't pay off the loan, so I'll just wait around and I'll wait till he pays the loan. No, that's not what wisdom says to do. Wisdom, in the form of a covering, told me to get a restraining order, leave this man alone, block his number, move on, don't go back, don't look back. All these things, I ignored it again. That's the 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th time I completely ignored wisdom. By the time the guy got an update on how things were going, he had to, it was starting to pull him into a situation. You guys, it's messy and chaotic. There's no need to take the precious wisdom that the Lord gives us by instruction, especially when it's clear. Do you know how amazing and precious and how much of a blessing it is to gain clear instruction from the Lord? There are so many people walking around who just kind of wish, and they're trying and crying and praying to understand what the next step is. The fact that wisdom came to my door in clear form so many times, you guys, I like to say that I got what I deserved in a sense. And thank God for his grace. I have more to talk about, and I'm actually going to come back on a little later. I have about 20 more minutes. Hold on one second. Okay, I have 17. Yeah, I have about 20 more minutes. And then I'm going to get off, and then I'm actually going to come back on. But I learned so much. Everything that my friend told me would happen as a result of me not taking the instruction the exact way that was supposed to be taken happened. And guess what happened to make it all worse, you guys? The debt still never got paid off that he put in my name. The debt never got paid off. And then I found out that the woman, that the sweet woman from the past, the children of the woman, I found out that as gentle and everything as she was, I have found out that she experienced exactly what I went through in reference to the controlling aspects of an individual that can cause you so much stress that you have no ability to just about think for yourself anymore. The difference between she and I was that she was not a godly woman. So by the grace of God, he's able to take all things to work together for, he will all use it for his purpose, right? And it will all be used to glorify him in the end, right? When you're a child of God, it works together for your good. And so I was able to, in the midst of all this chaos, to uplift her, to edify her, to encourage her, to help her to learn about Christ and to know who he is. She now has a prayer life. She now fasts. She now has a, when I would go over to pick the kids up, the house would be, in just different conditions. She was able to get out of her abusive relationship that she had established after her marriage. All these different things, and her house smells so good. It feels so good when you walk in those doors now. All that happened over the course of the 2.5 years that I was experiencing this with her ex-husband. But so that was a good thing. But I was going under in my own life because of, we never know how long it will take to get out of a situation that you allow yourself to deliberately just do the opposite of what you're instructed to do, right? Don't try to put your own thoughts over that which God has given you, over his tools, over his wisdom, over his instruction. Don't do that. Don't do that. So I'm actually going to get off because I can talk about this forever. I'm actually supposed to do a couple more hours anyway today, so I'll get back on at some point. And I want to talk more about it, and I want to actually I'm going to be forming a group where we can all just kind of come in together and kind of a community. But just know that we cannot outsmart the spirit of our creator, the living God, the one who knows all, the one who knows best, the one who gives and takes away, the one who pours in, the one who does it all, right? And we can't outsmart the fruit that he's pouring into us. And yeah, we can't ignore the key essential ingredients that he wants to give us. We can't outsmart that. We can't function properly without those key fruits and the key fruit and the key ingredients and the key essential things that he wants to give us to grow us, to eat from, to grow us, to nourish us. We can't outsmart that. How can we do it without life without it? It doesn't make sense. So if I had held on a little longer, I would have grown more and more and more, and I would have been able to make better decisions. But guess what? I'm going to talk to y'all about how now where I am now, right? Which is okay. I'm actually very blessed. But I just want to talk to you guys about the result of not taking heed. And one of the things are having to go through a process again that you could have completed had you just not completely just ignored and just turned your face from, or if that makes sense, or just, you know what I mean? Just kind of like disgrace in your mind, in your thoughts, just like, okay, that my way is better. You know what I mean? You'll have to go through it again anyway. So why not just go ahead and go through it? It only makes sense. Only makes sense. So you guys, I'm gonna come back on, and I'm gonna talk about it again. I'm actually gonna get off, and yeah, just know that wisdom is extremely important, you guys. I just don't want as many people as I can reach to share my poor decision making with. Do you know that poor is by definition, like, poor is a form of destitute? So if you think poor, you're going to be poor. Think about it. I made the poor decision to remain in wisdom's covering and protection. I went outside of that. And even though it came in the form of financial blessings, it looked like so much money, so much fun, so much this, so much that. Me ignoring wisdom's detection of all of that chaos underneath that I didn't see, me ignoring that resulted in a form of destitute life somewhat, in some way, because I ended up having to lose all of that anyway. It's like I ended up losing all of that anyway. Even some of my spiritual awareness was kind of like, it had gotten to a place where it was just kind of like not deactivated, but it wasn't, I wasn't moving spiritually. I just wasn't. I wasn't moving spiritually. I wasn't. I was moving in a way that it's almost like I put God's will on hold, or I put God's everything on hold. As a matter of fact, in relation to God's plans for me. And I ended up with pretty much nothing. And it's okay, because I rather at a certain point, I'm going to talk to y'all later about that, because I want to tell you guys how I finally decided to just get back into what I knew best, was in the safety that I knew and I remembered from from God. And I'm excited to talk about it later. But okay, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I can talk forever about these things. I'm just kind of on vacation anyway, and I no longer want to bring a message in the form of like this. I'm not standing in a church, in a pulpit. I'm not standing behind a I'm just here to talk and to testify and to share my experiences and to be supportive in you all knowing that in the end of it all, it's okay, because when you come to a place when you're finally like able to refer back to thoughts and choices, it's an indication that there's growth and that you're no longer there. When you get to a place where you're like, what in the world was I thinking? When you get to a place where you're like, nah, I was straight up tripping. You know what I mean? When you get to a place and you're like, why was my demeanor like that? Or, ooh, that was not the right way to respond to that situation. Whenever you get to that place, you have outgrown that. And y'all, I can't wait to testify to you guys about what actually took place after. I'm so excited. And I just thank God for it all. So, alrighty, you guys, I will see you later on this evening, because I am again going to go live and talk about the rest of my experiences in this particular testimony. Again, I have so many other ones. But and at some point I'm actually going to bring my daughter on, because she was heavily affected by knowing that I wasn't the same person as she knew me to be before. And I'm inspired by the ability of a child to express how they feel. I'm very big on teaching respect behind it, and when it's appropriate and how to go about it. If I can't control it all. That's not my goal, but I am open to conversations and shedding light on some of my experiences, so that they can understand how they cannot make the same choices. Because believe it or not, that's how you break curses as well. People think, oh, I broke a generational curse because I got a PhD. That doesn't mean you broke. Sorry, it doesn't mean you broke a generational curse. What it does mean is that you accomplished something, and you set an amazing example to other people about how you can go and you can get an accolade, or several, however many, and you can become something from it. It sets a fine example of how to push through something. However, there's been people in this world who's not gained a single accolade, who's broken generational curses, because they brought the family out of a mindset. And that's what breaking generational curses is. Y'all, we got to stop looking at physical things and putting them as an idol, and telling people that it's a form of a curse being broken as a result. That's not, guys, we got to stop that. That's not what that is. It's a huge, extreme, precious accomplishment, for sure. When you go out and grab a PhD in certain things like that, it's huge. It's not easy. It's a lot of work. And it could actually be that you have broken a curse using that, if in that case there's a lack of education, there's a lack of people completing something. Does that make sense? So in that area, then of course in that context, it's a broken generational curse. But someone else who didn't think to go out and, or the Lord didn't lead them to go out to get a PhD, that very same person can be the first person that the Lord uses to make way for people behind them to be established financially, in business, in success of any sort. And then the effects that that person has on the generations behind them, that is the curse being broken within context based on what it is, because there's different things. So I say that to say that if you've fallen and you've gone through terrible situations as a result, no matter what the reason was for, regardless of that, you can still become that person to set an example for those behind you who had no ability to do so had you not learned from your situation. That's where you gain the ability to be a curse breaker, is learning from your mistakes, learning and doing better with it. Don't wait till you're 90. Don't wait till you're 80. Don't wait till you're 100. Don't wait till you're on a cane. It's okay to learn things then, because you can always be of an influence. There's conversations that you can have with people to help them out in your old age. However, while you have your youth, take these experiences and use those as tools to plant seeds in the youth for generations to come. That is constant curse breaking. Do you know that you can break generational barriers and curses in other people's families that has no biological connection to yourself? We're not going to limit the ability to break generational curses to our own bloodline. We're going to step outside of that. Hello? Come on, y'all. Let's get for real. You got to understand that we are all descendants of Abraham. There was the first Adam, obviously. But we're all descendants of Abraham. Why is it that people think that the only time you're a curse breaker is when you're establishing something new in your own bloodline? And why do we limit it to paper, to a degree? There's so much more behind the ability to walk through a process that clears the way for others behind you than a piece of paper or something as amazing as a doctorate. Hello? Come on, y'all. I'm just saying here, I know I'm not by myself. We're out to set an example for those behind us in every aspect. All those connected to us shall benefit from the fruit that the Lord has allowed us to develop. We about to do better in this world, y'all. For real. We about to do better than this world. And so, sorry. So I am off. It is now... I am going to come on... I'm not sure what time it's going to be. Be looking out. I'm not sure what time it's going to be. I'm not sure. I don't want to say because it's going to be through prayer. But be looking out. Visit me on my website, www.juanitabender.com, if you would like to have me to participate in whatever it may be. But it has to just involve edification, uplifting, encouragement, inspiration of some sort, godly tools, walks, connections, something related to something of that nature. It doesn't have to always be godly, but it does have to have God in it. It doesn't have to be church, but it does have to have the Lord in it. When I say the Lord in it, let's carry and exude the Lord from everything that we do. But I'll come play basketball. I'll come hang out. I'll do a one-on-one. I speak, a guest speaker to whatever it may be, a talk show. I love to share inspiration, inspired by God. And that's just what I do. So visit my website if you would like to talk to me, to inquire about having me to come speak, to do whatever it is, pray. I'll pray for you. If led, I'll give you a call as well. or reach out to you with contact information, just visit the site and let me know your thoughts. Bye. I had 64 viewers and 175 likes.
Dang.